Welcome to my channel. This is Mated to the Migrant Life. So you might be a newcomer or you've been on show in Australia for the past few weeks, and this channel is set up to or designed to enable you to integrate easily or to answer your questions if you're still planning on coming to Australia. You've not quite made that decision because hey, Australia is quite far compared to the rest of the other countries that are dragging you or getting your attention, like the US or Canada. Australia definitely is beautiful. So this channel is definitely designed to talk about what you should expect, the questions you need answered, and that distant cousin of yours that lives in Australia. So that's what I hope to be in your lives and concerning your journey, your migration journey to Australia. If you're new on this channel, please go ahead to subscribe, like, and share. Share it with any of your family and friends that are still making up their minds to come to Australia. So my name, like I said, is Mary, and I'm definitely here to answer those questions that you need answered. So on today's topic, we will be talking about the newcomer's guide to Australia. Hey, I've been in Australia for about 5 years. It's pretty beautiful living down here. But I can admit that it was a bit of a struggle living the first 1 year. I still had a bit of, cultural shock issues. It's just been a bit of a journey for me to be able to call this place home. So it's home away from home. And back story, I'm a Nigerian that migrated 5 years ago to Australia to study. So my husband came here to study and I was his dependent, and that's how we did our journey down here with 2 little children. Why did we select Australia? I can't remember why. Oh yeah, I remember. So why did we select Australia? We didn't want to go to a place where, everyone was running to Canada, US, the UK, and we didn't want that, everyone going to the same place everyone was going to. We wanted to experience something different. I mean, we have friends, family that are based out in those countries. And don't get me wrong, those countries are really beautiful to settle in. But I think that Australia has its unique beauty. It's a beautiful place, like I said. It's got loads of massive opportunities. So a question I get all the time is, so Mary, what do I need to know before I can come to Australia? So I can only use my own experience here. Everyone has their various unique set of experience and they can advise you differently. So, but on my channel, I'm going to be sharing my experience with you. So if you're coming, first tip number 1, if you're coming to Australia, you've got to decide, do I come with my family or just come by myself? Is this a place I just want to study and stay for a couple of years to finish my studies and go back? That's a decision that you alone can answer. You can't, no one can answer that for you. But I'm hoping that my channel is going to be able to give you, the extra, ginger to make that sweet decision, future decision for your upcoming generations, your children, your grandchildren, and you can be a first generation migrant in here. Now, number 1 tip. Make that decision on how you want to come in. Do you want to come in as a student? Do you want to come in as a tourist? Do you want to come in on whatever visa, permanent resident, whatever visa you're coming on? Make that decision on how you can get here. Now, I can only talk of, my channel is also we're going to be talking about some topics that can help you know what to study, what skills are in demand that you can start studying or applying to study, and that can help you make that decision ultimately. So once you make that decision, then how do you want to travel down? So when you're traveling down, what airlines do I want to pick? So our experience, my husband came on, I think it was Emirates? No, there's this other second airline, Etihad, yes. So my husband came on Etihad. So he was just a big boy that we decided to spoil first so that he can come on Etihad. While myself and my children, we came on Bubu Aero flights. So myself and my kids, we came 1 month after my husband, and we came on South African Airline. Now, if you come on Emirates or Etihad, it's a direct, 24 hours travel, no layover period, no stopovers. I think from back then, there was no stopover, so it was just a straight direct. I think you land in Perth. No, so you land in Abu Dhabi or Dubai, and then from Abu Dhabi, Dubai, you come straight to Perth, and wherever you think that you are going to settle down in Australia, that's how the connect literally occurs. So from Perth, you go straight down to Sydney. If for my husband's case, he came straight down to Sydney. For my case and my kids' case, this is me traveling with my little kids. One was about 3, one was about 2, and we were traveling with South African Airlines. I was struggling with 2 children, and then with boxes of different things, food and just a few clothes, but food to last a lifetime. Well, not a lifetime, 6 to 8 months. That's another tip you have there, right there. So we took South African Airlines, and it had a 16 hours layover period. We already knew that 16-hour layover period will not work for me and 2 little toddlers. It just was not going to work because I was not traveling with another adult. I was just the only adult with 2 children that would be crying and screaming. So we made the smartest decision to be able to book a hotel. So there's a hotel in South African airport. I can't remember the name of the hotel. I think it was Protea. So there's a hotel built in that we stayed in for that layover period. That was a miracle. My kids were able to settle down. I was able to relax and recharge, and we're able to basically sleep in a really comfortable bed. Now, the option is left to you if you want to stay. If you're traveling by yourself, left to me. If I was traveling by myself, I will most likely save on the cash than paying for the hotel. So you might want to stay in your 16-hour waiting period. You might want to just use it and read or walk around the airport or sleep in the corridors of the airport. I mean, the choice is yours. But if you're traveling with a family, I think that it's not penny wise, pound foolish for you to invest in booking a hotel for your comfort. So that's what we did. That saved me the stress and hassle. And then we continued our journey straight up to Perth, I believe. And then we landed in Sydney. So now when you're choosing what airline to travel with, make sure that you are buying it not in peak season. If you can avoid it, try and buy and book your ticket in advance. It will save you a lot of costs. So you can get it a lot cheaper if you're buying your ticket not in the peak season or the peak periods in whatever country that you're in. Number 3 tip that we did when we arrived, basically, like I said, I did not pack. So my luggage was full with more of foodstuffs and food items. My husband had already told me that I should travel light on clothes. So what I did was I only got winter wear for myself and my kids. What we were wearing was all we bought, and probably a few underwears and just, casual summer clothing. But the period we came in was just the period we're just about entering into winter. So it really helped us. We just bought 1 or 2 items. Every of our clothes that were back at home, we just gave them out. Because number 1, it's easier and cheaper to buy clothes. You can get them easily when you're just settling in. You can get them easily from Salvos, from Kmart, any of those places you need to buy. The first few weeks, you don't need to look all fancy and do Snapchat. Yeah, I've arrived. Trust me, that's going to be the last thing on your mind. Well, that was the last thing on my mind. But if you're into that sort of thing, be my guest and do all the things you need to do on social media. So we packed a few clothings and more of foodstuffs because I'm more of a home cooking girl. I don't like to cook outside. I don't like to eat outside a lot. And to be honest, spending a lot of money in Australia, eating out doesn't make sense. In Australia, if you're going to be eating out, it's very expensive. So as a new migrant, you want to save on the dollars. You want to save on the pennies. So as much as you can save, you save. And most of the foodstuffs that, from my culture in the African food, they're quite pricey here. Very pricey. Just 1 bottle or less than I think 1 liter of 1 liter of palm oil is almost about $15. How many of that bottle of palm oil you want to use to cook, to be honest. If you cooked beans, if you cooked a foriro, if you cooked a goosey soup, you will use more than one palm oil. If you want to even cook stew, you will use a lot of palm oil. So you need to just try to save on cash, save on your cash, and see what you can pick from your home country. If you're coming from India, buy your foodstuff. Now, in bringing your foodstuff, always label it. Otherwise, if you do not label it and you come through the immigration's terminal at the airport, they will trash your luggage, they will trash your food. So always label it in English so that they know, the officials will know what the product is. So I believe I'll run a series in depth later on down the track on acceptable food items that the officials will be accepting. I mean, certain things like fish and all of that, they're pretty sensitive on those type of things. They're pretty sensitive on anything that has ants in it. You've got to be very careful. So dry whatever you need to dry those food items, dry them real nice and good, and they must not be moisty or moldy or have any algae or spoiled anything on them. So you've got to be really careful. Otherwise, all of your hard work of packaging those food items will go down the drain as you arrive Australia, and that can be very painful. So that's a tip that you want to be hold really closely if you're going to be carrying any food. Otherwise, just buy food when you arrive here, and you spread how you will cook the food and make sure that it's economical for you. So number 3, once we arrived Australia, one of the first things that was very important to me and also to my children was the fact that we didn't have any family members here. We didn't have friends in the city that we were going to be living in. So you've got to think of what sort of accommodation do you want to stay in. So my experience, back to my story, my husband came first before we arrived, and we did it in a deliberate way because we didn't want to all struggle when we come into a strange land. So we decided that my husband should come about a month or 2 before we did. I think he came in February and we came in about April or May, I'm not too sure. Now, so he came in February and we had already sort of organized online that he will do like a shared accommodation, which he did. So we did the shared accommodation arrangement. We did that back from Nigeria. We just went on the internet. Now I'll do an in-depth series on how you can find accommodation if you're living overseas and planning to migrate here. But I'm just going to go over the top and go do some highlights here. So what he did was that he did like a sharing accommodation. So you have like a 3-bedroom and he rented just 1 room. So if he were to go for the entire 3-bedroom, he probably would pay $400 per week. So rather than spend that kind of money, $400 per week, he's not with his family, that costs, the 3-bedroom is split among 3 different people. And if you want to also share 1 room with 2 people, meaning 1 room to be shared by 2 people, that costs, gets cheaper that way. So depending on who the real estate agent is or the housekeeper is and whatever arrangement you're able to strike, that's how you can get cheaper accommodation when you're planning to move from overseas down to Australia. So that's what he did. I believe he was paying about $120. He didn't share with anyone. He just stayed by himself, and it was about $120 or $150 a week. And that's how he came. So when we arrived, he was able to stay on ground for about 2 months and find a suitable accommodation that could cater for a family. And he was able to secure that for us when we arrived. So it was easy. We arrived into a house that was already, my husband had done the groundwork. So if you're someone that's coming with your family, I strongly advise you do the application together. But in terms of who comes first, I believe one person should come down first. If you do not have any family or friend here, someone should come down first to Australia, arrive, and then do the groundwork, the legwork.